Hello, this is Lisa, CEO of Sight for Wight, welcoming you to this week's Talking News on Saturday, the 19th of March 2022. I'd like to start by introducing Wight Sense. Everybody should now have received a letter or email confirming the following. I am delighted to be able to confirm that from the 1st of April, we have been awarded the Isle of Wight sensory contract. The contract will be completed by the Wight Sense team. Wight Sense will be providing specialist sensory assessments, mobility training and support to island residents. Everyone here at the charity is very excited that we can now provide the full range of services to our members. The service provides individual home-based visits, mobility training, practical help and a full range of referrals and support to allow people to remain independent and confident in their daily lives. The sensory service contract here on the island is a dual sensory loss service contract. That means that Wight Sense will also be offering this service to people living with both sight and hearing loss. The majority of our members living with sight loss have age-related conditions, and the majority of people living with hearing loss also have age-related conditions. There is therefore a substantial crossover of people whom we already support that are living with both sight and hearing loss. Being able to offer full help and support to these members in their daily living is something we're excited to be able to do. The charity will continue its work of 155 years in supporting people living with sight loss with the same activities, newsletter, information and support that we currently offer. We will also be providing the additional service through the Wight Sense team. As a charity, we are very excited to be given the chance to complete this service for our current members and indeed to be able to start to provide help to other islanders living with a sensory impairment. We've produced some questions and answers over Leaf, which we would hope will be of help to people. But if you do have anything you'd like to ask, don't hesitate to get in touch with the office. Questions and answers. 1. What exactly is the new contract? It is the Isle of Wight Council's sensory service contract for hearing impaired and visually impaired islanders. It provides specialist assessments, support, training and onward referrals to anyone living with or affected by a hearing or sight impairment. 2. When will it start? The contract is currently being run by the RNID here on the island until the 31st of March. The new contract will commence with Wight Sense on the 1st of April 2022. 3. Why hearing impairment? This isn't our area of expertise. Actually, we have staff, trustees and members with experience of hearing impairment and our CEO is herself hearing impaired. Having run the sensory contract in the past, we do not underestimate the commitment needed, but we know as an island-based charity with 155 years experience of helping people, we can continue to do just that. 4. What will it mean for Sight for Wight? From 1982 to 2014, we ran the sensory contract for the Isle of Wight Council, providing a very similar level of service provision for visually impaired people. Our work already runs alongside that of the RNID, and we complete a large proportion of the work needed by this contract already, complementing the RNID with the same clients. The quality management and person-centred approach required by this contract is therefore already built into every policy, decision and service provision and indeed the ethos of the charity. The 2020 survey and 2020 strategy that followed means we are now working alongside 13 organisations to provide a one-stop shop for our members. The addition of this contract adds to this. 5. How many members will Sight for Wight gain? People undergoing the Wight Sense assessment and service will receive this very defined service. People living with sight loss will then have the opportunity to become members of the charity. 6. Will staff lose their jobs? The staff currently managing the contract are all transferring into Wight Sense under TUPE, bringing with them their experience and knowledge. Karen, a current charity staff member, our member support officer, is also going to be joining them. Wight Sense will be based here at Millbrook House. 6. Financial questions. What will the contract cost? The new contract is paid for as a statutory payment from the Isle of Wight Council. Charity funds will not be affected. Number 8. Is this money to be split equally between hearing and sight? The amount of money spent on HI and VI services will entirely depend on the need as it arises. 9. Will it reduce the service we offer for visually impaired people? No. Our current service provision will continue to improve in line with the ethos that has led to us reshaping the charity over the last 2 years, adding to our 155 years of experience, seeking out what people need and fulfilling it. 10. How will you guarantee it won't reduce current services? The Wight Sense contract is a paid-for service that is funded entirely separately from the charity's own funds. Any resource, for example office space, used by Wight Sense will be paid for by Wight Sense. It will not come out of charity funds. I hope this information is useful, but I do repeat, if anybody would like anything further, don't hesitate to call the office on 522205. Thank you, Lisa, CEO, Site for Wight.
This is Michael reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. 4 people arrested on suspicion of conspiracy to murder, bailed by police. 4 people were arrested on Tuesday in connection with the death of 33-year-old Scott Cooper in Ryde, have been bailed with conditions. Police attended a flat in George Street on the afternoon of Tuesday, January the 4th, where the body of Scott, who was from Newport, was discovered. As part of inquiries, officers conducted warrants at addresses in George Street, Warwick Street, Star Street and Quarry Road in Ryde. During this activity, a 25-year-old man and a 41-year-old man were arrested on suspicion of conspiracy to murder. In addition, 2 men who were previously arrested on suspicion of murder, a 28-year-old and a 29-year-old, were re-arrested on suspicion of conspiracy to murder. The 28-year-old man was also arrested on suspicion of supplying Class A drugs. All 4 men have now been bailed with conditions in connection to these alleged offences until April the 12th, while inquiries continue. We continue to ask anyone who has information that may assist our investigation to call 101, quoting Operation Amaryllis, or 4422 000 3393. You can also submit information via the following online: https://orlo.uk/JZA_JC. Alternatively, you can contact the independent charity Crime Stoppers 100% anonymously on 0800 555 111 or via their anonymous online form at https://orlo.uk/xx M_K_x.
This is Patrina reading an article from Island Echo. Here we go again. Health boss warns of rising COVID infections. A health chief has warned islanders to be cautious as COVID infections start to rise once again. In the last week, patients coming to St Mary's Hospital in Newport with COVID or testing positive while at the hospital has doubled, says the Isle of Wight NHS Trust's Interim Chief Executive Darren Cattell. Speaking at a meeting of the Isle of Wight Council's Health and Social Care Committee on Monday, Mr Cattell said the community infection rate was growing and the Trust is seeing a big increase in patients. Government figures shown in the last 7 days, 1,328 people on the island have tested positive for COVID-19. The rate in those 7 days is 64.3 cases per 100,000 people on the island, well above the national rate for England at 502.4. On 10th of March, figures suggest 239 cases were logged, 26 of those being possible reinfections. And on 8th of March, there were 14 COVID patients in St Mary's Hospital. Mr. Cattell said the increase could be for all sorts of reasons, but in recent weeks COVID measures have been relaxed across the country as the UK learns to live with COVID. It has meant those who have the virus no longer need to isolate, and face masks do not have to be worn anymore. In just a matter of weeks, free testing will be abolished, which should bring down the figures and help the Isle of Wight and the rest of the country to live with COVID.
This is Brian reading an article from the Island Echo. Phoenix Choir announces post-COVID return with East Cowes concert. After a 2.5-year sabbatical, the Phoenix Choir has announced that the group will return to performing again on Saturday the 2nd of April. The COVID pandemic resulted in all 2020 concerts being cancelled, and 2021 options did not come to fruition due to further lockdown restrictions. The number of choir members has decreased over that period, due mainly to retirements and members leaving the island, but the sound of music will continue to echo out when the choir appears at East Cowes Town Hall next month. The 2nd of April concert is being held in aid of the East Cowes Methodist Church Organ Fund. The organ is 100 years old, and the necessary refurbishment requires transportation to the mainland, resulting in travel and associated costs. 2022's concert programmes will include a large percentage of songs that are new to the choir and will again encompass the same eclectic mix of tunes from musicals, films and other popular numbers. The choir was established in 2009 and to date has raised more than £50,000 for local good causes and charities. There are opportunities to join the choir in both the alto and bass sections. Those interested should be able to either read or closely follow music. Contact the musical director for further details by emailing robin@rburnett.plus.com.
This is Chris reading an article from On the Wight. £43,000 plus raised for Isle of Wight independent lifeboats through Red Funnel's Charity of the Year scheme. The funds will be split across all 3 charities and will be used to ensure faster responses to call-outs on the water surrounding the Isle of Wight. On Tuesday, the 15th of March, Liana Lakes, Operations Director at Red Funnel, presented a cheque for £43,188.38 to representatives of the Isle of Wight independent lifeboats to mark the end of the 2021 Charity of the Year partnership. Isle of Wight Independent Lifeboats is a collaboration of Freshwater Independent Lifeboat, Sandown and Shanklin Independent Lifeboat and Ryde Inshore Rescue, who submitted a joint application to Red Funnel's Charity of the Year scheme to support its life-saving services. The charity collective was elected to the scheme in 2020, but proactively offered to defer its position so Red Funnel could support its runner-up charities, Monkey Haven and Daisy Chains, who were in more urgent need of funding during the pandemic. Together, the organisation operates 5 lifeboats and is on call to the Coast Guard 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Its operations often involve helping casualty vessels in need, performing recoveries from cliffs, searching for people or animals in distress, and providing safety overwatch from the water. The funds will be split across all 3 charities and will support Freshwater Independent Lifeboat to make modification to its A75 trailer that will allow for a quicker launch of the lifeboat. They will also be purchasing a hydraulic turntable for more efficient recovery. Ride Inshore Rescue has plans to create new public access steps into its shop, and Sandown and Shanklin Independent Lifeboat will be using the funds to train new volunteers and supply new crew with PPE, crash helmets and dry suits. Alongside this, a new GPS will be purchased for the lifeboat, an essential piece of equipment to enable the team to serve the community. Speaking on behalf of the three charities, Martin Newham, coordinator at the Isle of Wight Independent Lifeboat, said, "We are extremely grateful to Red Funnel for putting in extensive effort over the last year to support our commitment to saving lives at sea and along the coastline." Liana Lakes, Operations Director at Red Funnel, said, "We are pleased to have partnered with the Isle of Wight Independent Lifeboats in 2021 and see our funding make improvements to response times across all three charities. We're also excited to see the funding go towards training new crew and add to the charity's growing list of volunteers who carry out such important life-saving work." Fran Collins, CEO at Red Funnel, added, "As our outgoing charity of the year, it has been great to work in partnership with the Isle of Wight Independent Lifeboats throughout the year, as the group continues its commitment to the vital work at sea along the Hampshire and Isle of Wight coastline. Young Lives versus Cancer was chosen as Red Funnel's 2022 Charity of the Year, following a public vote earlier this year. Red Funnel will work in partnership with the charity, supporting its ongoing fundraising campaigns.
This is Michael reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Isle of Wight's ICR Touch donates £20,000 to Ukraine appeal. Isle of Wight firm ICR Touch has donated £20,000 towards an appeal helping those affected by the conflict in Ukraine. The Disasters Emergency Committee estimates around 3 million people have now fled their homes from Russia's illegal invasion of the country. ICR Touch says, like many, it's shocked and saddened by the events unfolding in the country. To help, the firm has donated £20,000 to the Disasters Emergency Committee Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal. Colin Ringer, ICR Touch CEO, said, "Aid and support is desperately needed, and this week we have made a donation of £20,000 to the Disasters Emergency Committee Ukraine Humanitarian Appeal." The thoughts and hearts of all of us here at ICR Touch are with the people of Ukraine. The much-needed funds will go directly towards supporting work in Ukraine and its neighbouring countries, providing food, water, health assistance, protection and trauma care for refugees. The company is encouraging people to donate to the appeal. You can do so here. www.dec.org.uk/appeal/humanitarian-appeal.
This is Patrina reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Thousands living in pain amid Isle of Wight dental crisis, watchdog warns. Thousands of islanders are now waiting to see a dentist, living in pain, embarrassment and going into debt to fund essential care, an island health watchdog has warned. There may be some hope on the horizon, however, that could lessen the dentistry crisis on the island. Following a review of services, NHS England is hoping to add another big dental practice on the island by next spring. When it could start accepting new patients, or whether it would be enough provision, was unknown, and it was stressed there was a recruitment and retention issue for dentists on the island. Speaking at the Isle of Wight Council's Health and Scrutiny Committee meeting on Monday, Alison Cross, NHS England's Senior Dental Commissioning Manager for the South East, was hopeful the restart of acceptance of overseas registration exams by the General Dental Council would attract dentists from abroad. It would not be a quick fix for the island's problems, Miss Cross said. She first spoke to the committee in September last year, but said pressures have continued to increase, with island dentists only fulfilling 85% of their contracted hours. Part of the reason for the shortfall in hours, Miss Cross said, was due to the fact COVID infection, prevention and control measures for dental surgeries had not lifted, despite the national easing elsewhere. From the summer, the way dental services are commissioned is changing, with the creation of the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Integrated Care System. Alison Smith, Managing Director of the NHS Hampshire, Southampton and the Isle of Wight Clinical Commission Group, said there was a real opportunity as the services would be commissioned locally and not nationally. The localised approach, Miss Smith said, will help the Care Partnership come up with innovative ideas. Joanna Smith, Health Watch Isle of Wight manager, said the lack of dentists on the island was having a knock-on effect on the entire healthcare system, in primary, secondary and mental health care. Health Watch was prioritising speaking to dental providers to find answers to the problem the island faces.
This is Brian reading an article from the Island Echo. Alleged fraudster could face 6-week Crown Court trial over £100,000 losses. Preparations are underway for a 5 to 6 week trial in the criminal case against alleged fraudster Simon Regan, who's been charged with 3 counts of fraud involving around 40 victims, many of them elderly. Regan, 56, of Barrows Green in Crewe, Stoke-on-Trent, appeared at the Isle of Wight Crown Court on Friday, charged with 3 counts of carrying on the business of a company with the intent to defraud creditors for other fraudulent purposes. It's alleged that between 2014 and 2017, Mr. Regan repeatedly installed poorly laid resin driveways for largely inflated prices, resulting in the accumulation of approximately £100,000 in losses by around 40 customers across the Isle of Wight. The charges, which were originally brought to court by the Isle of Wight Council in April 2021, relate to Angel Coatings Limited, Angel Coatings Resin Drives Limited and National Resin Drives Limited. The 56-year-old was first listed to appear at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court in April of last year, but the case was adjourned several times before finally being heard in September and sent up to the Crown Court. A provisional trial date has now been set for September this year, which means the alleged victims may have to wait another 6 months for their day in court. The trial, which is expected to last between 5 and 6 weeks, will take place at Southampton Crown Court. Mr. Regan has not yet been arraigned and will next appear in court in April for a further case management hearing at Southampton Crown Court. A report has been requested on Mr. Regan's fitness to plea.
This is Chris reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio. Investigation after sudden death of white-tailed eagle on the Isle of Wight. A police investigation is underway after the sudden death of a white-tailed eagle on the Isle of Wight. The sea eagle, one of 25 released as part of a reintroduction project on the island, was found dead on February the 24th. While it's been confirmed the bird had avian influenza, bird flu, Forestry England say it's not yet known whether this was the cause of death. Circumstances around its sudden death are being looked into by Hampshire Constabulary, the organisation said. A joint statement from Forestry England and the Roy Dennis Wildlife Foundation said, a satellite-tracked white-tailed eagle from the Isle of Wight reintroduction scheme was found dead on the Isle of Wight on the 24th of February 2022. Circumstances surrounding the sudden death of the bird are being investigated by Hampshire Police and partners. During a post-mortem examination, it has been identified that the bird was carrying avian influenza, although it's not unknown at this stage if this is related to the bird's death, and inquiries are continuing. The deaths of 2 sea eagles in Dorset are also the subject of a police investigation, as Isle of Wight Radio previously reported. Police say they're not currently linking this incident to any other investigations. A spokesman for Hampshire Constabulary said, we were called shortly after 5 p.m. on Thursday the 24th of February to a report of a dead sea eagle on Buckham Road on the Isle of Wight. The investigation into the circumstances surrounding the animal's death is ongoing. We are not linking this to any other investigations at this time.
This is Michael reading an article from On the Wight. A peek inside Norris Castle as developers address residents' concerns. The sale of the houses on the estate will be restricted to allow local people first choice to buy them. This and other concerns addressed by those behind the £106 million development. Concerns raised following the submission of plans for the major redevelopment of Norris Castle have been addressed by developers. Plans were unveiled last month to turn the East Cowes estate into a year-round heritage and natural environment-led destination. The castle is proposed to be transformed into a 17-suite hotel with a further 57 additional suites built into the grounds, designed to remove the landslip risk to the castle. Farm buildings will be restored and converted into a spa and a wellness centre, with further repairs made throughout the estate. However, developers Norris Castle Estate Group, NCEG, say the plan is the only viable option for conserving the estate as a whole. The castle, estate and other listed buildings are in a state of disrepair after decades of neglect as a private residence, and developers say they have worked to limit further deterioration. All 3 of the estate's Grade 1 listed assets are now on Historic England's Heritage at Risk register because of urgent need for repair. Coastal erosion is a risk to be dealt with. NCEG says otherwise it would not be possible to raise the investment needed to put the castle to any viable use. Planning documents estimate repairs would cost £16.55 million, with conversion costs put at £90.74 million. An estimated 120 homes are proposed on the neighbouring Spring Hill estate to ensure the viability of the development, but NCEG says that is no more than necessary. The plans have been met with mixed reactions, with 1 supportive letter submitted to the council, but 4 against, including from the Isle of Wight Society. Recommendations to refuse the plans have been sent from Island Roads and the Environment Agency. Many concerns have centred around the entrance proposed from East Cowes Esplanade, above the Southern Water Pumping Station. It is thought using the Esplanade as the main access point will increase traffic levels in the mainly pedestrian area. NCEG say the proposed access road would have a signalised junction, pedestrian footway, dropped curbs and tackle paving to enhance pedestrian safety. Visitors will be encouraged to leave their cars at home, lessening the traffic increase, with a pick-up and drop-off service provided. It says the proposals would only have a minimal impact on the highways and pedestrian safety. Answering concerns about whether the development will actually be completed, NCEG said it would be tied into legally enforceable planning conditions as part of the permission, with a management company maintaining the estate. As a benefit, NCEG said it would open up Norris Castle to the public, providing a large number of jobs. The sale of the houses will also be restricted to allow local people first choice to buy them. NCEG say the plan has taken so long to ensure it was a thoroughly evidence-based application that addresses all planning considerations. To view the plans, 21/437/FUL and 21/02438/LBC. You can visit the Council's planning register. The public consultation runs until April the 8th, 2022. A website will be available from Friday the 18th with more information, pictures and planning summaries to look at.
This is Patrina reading an article from On the Wight. Plans submitted for controversial public toilets. Some town councillors argued the decision-making process was unlawful and improper, with one asking, if you are only getting one quote, how can you tell that it is the best value? New toilets are proposed for a popular stretch of Island Beach, but the old ones will stay for now. New pairs-you-use toilets are planned for near the bottom of Shanklin Chine to replace the currently dilapidated toilets. The existing conveniences are described in planning documents to be in very poor condition and beyond economic repair. The new facilities, coloured to represent the seaside, sand yellow, marine blue sea and blue sky, would be sitting opposite the others, which would then be permanently closed. The Danfo designed block would have 2 toilets, one accessible and one unisex, with 2 exterior cold water showers. Planning documents say the new modern, fit-for-purpose community building has been designed to respond to the increasing number of visitors. The toilet block would also have a green living, sedum roof to blend in with the existing environment when walking down from the Chine. The approval of new toilets had been a controversial issue for Shanklin Town Council, with members arguing the decision-making process was unlawful and improper according to the Town Council's financial regulations. Only one quote had been sought for the design of the toilets, who later was awarded the contract. Speaking back in August last year, Councillor Mike Hailstone said, "When you are spending in the excess of 133,000 plus VAT, then I think you do have a responsibility to look for the best quality and value." Well, if you're only going to get one quote, how can you tell if it is the best value? You can't. The matter was clarified by the town mayor, Councillor Chris Quirk, that while seeking more than one quote could be done, the way the council had acted was legal. The cost to use the toilet would be 20 pence. To view the plans, 21/02459/FU, you can visit the Isle of Wight Council's planning register. The public consultation runs until the 8th of April.
This is Brian reading an article from the Island Echo. Major improvement needed as Bembridge Bakery given 1-star rating. The bakery in Bembridge is the latest business to be slapped with a 1-star major improvement necessary rating by the Isle of Wight Council's Environmental Health Team, with the general standard of hygiene found to be unsatisfactory. Inspectors visited the High Street establishment on the 5th of February this year and found a number of key concerns, including out-of-date food in the fridge, a lack of hand-washing facilities, mould and broken equipment, as well as a general standard of unsatisfactory hygiene, not helped by the fact a paintbrush was being used to paste food. The bakery was last inspected on the 28th of July 2019 and was given an improvement necessary rating of 2, a significant drop from the 5-star rating given in 2014. Now the bakery is just 1 point off receiving a 0 rating. The lack of hand washing facilities has been highlighted as a major issue in the food safety report, with inspectors disappointed that no action had been taken to resolve the situation, despite the bakery being told about the problem prior to the environmental health visit. Inspectors discovered there was no hot running water at the hand basin in the kitchen and no cold running water or hand drying materials at the hand basin in the bakery. Inspectors also found that a griddle had been placed under a fan in the kitchen and that grease around the fan had dripped onto the griddle in the past, presenting a risk of contamination. Out-of-date food was found in the fridges, namely cheese that was 12 days past its use-by date. A number of sauces were also found that were not labelled with a use-by date at all. On the paperwork side of things, it was found there was no documentation available to demonstrate the identification of hazards. Furthermore, there was no evidence that staff member X had been provided with adequate instruction or training in food hygiene policies and practices. Other issues found on the 5th of February include a paintbrush was being used to paste food, 2 orange worktop boards in the bakery were badly scored and unable to be maintained in a clean condition. The sealant behind the wash-up sink was mouldy. The doors between the toilet and the food room were left open, presenting a contamination risk. The wheels of the movable worktops in the kitchen and bakery were dirty and possibly rusty. The inside of the bakery polar fridge was dirty. The freezers in the outside store were mouldy and dirty. The seals to the fridges were dirty and split, presenting a risk of contamination. The bakery ovens were cracked in some places. Hand contact surfaces in the bakery were dirty. There were cobwebs at height in the bakery. The wash hand basin tap was dirty in the bakery. The walk-in chiller floor was dirty with old food debris. The outside store area was dirty and cluttered. Part of the floor in the bakery was dirty. The tap in the kitchen at the wash hand basin was loose. The tap in the toilet was loose. Wooden shelving was damaged with exposed chipboard in the bakery. There was a hole in the wall that had not been plastered near to the outside extraction fan. The mechanical ventilation in the kitchen velocity was low. The under-counter fridge in the kitchen is being emptied of high-risk food by staff at the end of the day due to the increase in heat at certain times of the year, which affects its efficiency, temperature of fridge, due to lack of extraction. No lighting in the walk-in chiller and freezer. Light was at an insufficient level to allow effective cleaning, monitoring of cleaning standards, inspection of food, and pest control procedures to take place. There was an accumulation of redundant equipment which may provide harbourage for pests. In response to the new rating, Planning Solutions Limited, owners of the bakery, has issued a statement to Island Echo. A spokesperson has said, "As a company, we acknowledge that there were a number of faults found during inspection by the Environmental Health Department. We take these matters very seriously. and have invested considerable time and effort and expense to ensure that all of the items covered in the report have been dealt with. There have been some personnel changes at the bakery, which appears to have caused a lapse in the normal routines. However, all of the bakery staff have recently completed training and have gained level 2 hygiene certificates, and the new manager has achieved a level 3 qualification. The bakery is now 100% in line with the required levels of maintenance and repair, and we shall be seeking a re-inspection as soon as we are able to do so. Food hygiene rating scores on the doors. Compliance with food hygiene and safety procedures 10. Compliance with structural requirements 20. Confidence in management control procedures 20. Total score 50. 1 rating.
This is Chris reading an article from On the Wight. Rising costs having a huge impact on small businesses across the Solent area. On top of rising energy costs and surging prices, businesses are now facing the end of a business support measures, mounting inflationary pressure and rising taxes next month. Rising costs are having a huge impact on small businesses across the Solent and South Coast. Analysis by the Federation of Small Businesses shows that April's scheduled hike in employer national insurance contributions in April will cost SMEs in the South Central region around £390 million. On average, the planned 1.25 percentage point increase will add more than £3,000 to the annual tax bill of the average SME employer. FSB Development Manager in Hampshire, Dorset and the Isle of Wight, Nikki Kildoon, said, "Our economic recovery is still fragile. Firms now find themselves bracing for an April flashpoint when a jobs tax hike is set to take effect, alongside a grab on dividend income, fresh business rates bills, a rise in the living wage, and the end of COVID support measures such as a lower rate of VAT for hospitality. Added to that, an average rise across the board to general operating costs of around 14%, life continues to be very challenging for small businesses." Nikki added, "While scrapping the increase in NICS would be a huge relief, increasing the employment allowance by a quarter to £5,000 would go some way to offset the worst of the pain for small employers. Before then, we'll have the Chancellor's spring statement. Our recovery will hinge on it being a pro-business one." The FSB, Britain's biggest business representation group, invites its members to share their confidence levels on a quarterly basis. And in the run-up to Christmas, they revealed a fall of nearly 30% since the previous report in the autumn. As well as confidence levels falling, the report also revealed fears over future profit levels and concern over the current economic conditions in the UK for trading. Businesses polled also reported that getting appropriately skilled staff and reduced customer demand were also among the biggest barriers to growth. To illustrate the challenges that Solent small businesses are facing, FSB members in the area have set out how they are impacted by rising costs. As well as seeing their utility bill double, a local cleaning company has seen costs rise significantly on collection, deliveries and employee mileage due to the sharp increase in fuel costs. The business owner said, "I think we will lose customers if we increase prices to cover these costs," a fear that is echoed by many business owners, including this garage owner. The Solent-based garage has seen almost every operating cost increase, from the costs of parts and products rising between 6 and 20%, to increased environmental disposal of waste costs and a 45% surge in insurance renewal cost. It doesn't end there. Business rent has increased by 2% and electricity costs have increased by 31% per unit. The garage owner told us the cost of employing skilled labour has gone bonkers, which makes it difficult to judge salaries. Get it wrong, and often you only find out when you get a letter of resignation. He continues, "What does that mean to my business? I am looking at having to increase our labour rates, but I am concerned that this will stop us getting new work in when we complete estimates for repairs and servicing. It will also make it harder to upsell work that's required. We've had to purchase new equipment to keep up with newer model cars and also invest in more training, which results in a drop of income short term. It's difficult to look long term, and every day something changes." The vast increases to energy costs are having a huge impact on businesses. A new forest-based member in the retail sector told us, "Until November, we were pottering along with Ampower until they went under. We'd been on a tariff of 13p per kilowatt hour, with a pretty average monthly DDR of £200 for our showroom. Following a turbulent few months of going backwards and forwards between energy companies, this retailer has ended with an outstanding balance of £1,600 and a charge of 80p per kilowatt hour, a massive 75% plus increase. The pre-Christmas months were particularly tricky for the retail sector, and most businesses were focused on surviving post-Christmas. During this time, many small businesses had to start repaying their business bounce-back loans. Business owners are taking action to gain control over their energy costs, like this Hampshire-based dog food producer. We make raw dog food, and we currently have 2 large walk-in freezers and are about to add a third in our new additional unit. Our original unit had an electricity contract at 16.25 pence per kilowatt hour, and the renewal from April was quoted at 45p per kilowatt hour. Actual cost per month was in the region of £300. This would have been nearly £1,000 a month after the increase. We now have found a 4-year fixed contract for 2 of our units, including this one at just 33p per kilowatt hour. But we are actively planning to move to a new purpose-built unit, which will have lots of solar panels on the roof. Nikki Kildoon concluded, "There is a lot of support available to businesses in the Solent area, and various schemes which assist businesses to become more sustainable. If your business is struggling to work through the current rise in costs, please do reach out to your business support networks. See the Federation of Small Businesses website for more information."
Hello, reading this morning is Megan and
Mike.
And before we start the second part of the Talking News, here is this week's Society's news. The swimming group is on every Monday between 1:30 p.m. and 2:30 p.m. at Medina Leisure Centre, and for more information please call the office. The group is always looking for new members. Coffee and Chat is on every Wednesday at Millbrook House, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Only £1 for cake and coffee. Please come along for a chat, and members of staff will be there for any assistance with equipment and information. Our Mix and Mingle group is cancelled this week, March the 24th, but will commence once again on the 31st of March. For more details, please do not hesitate to call the office. Our monthly book group is on the second Wednesday of the month at Millbrook House, starting at 2 p.m, and we are always looking for new members to join. So if you enjoy listening to audiobooks, please call the office for more information. The group is free to join, and the book can be in either CD or memory stick form.
On Monday, our new horse riding activity starts. But if you haven't signed up for it this month, another session is planned for next month. So don't hesitate to call the office and put your name down. Our new 10-pin bowling session is this Wednesday, the 23rd, at Ryde Super Bowl, starting at 2 p.m. Please arrive at 1:45 p.m, ready to start bowling at 2 p.m. Please once again call the office to book your place. If you are interested in our members forum group, the date is Tuesday, April the 12th at 10:30 a.m. Please call the office to let us know you are available to attend. The more, the merrier. Our funding committee meets on April the 1st at Millbrook at 10 a.m. If you are unable to attend but have some ideas for us to raise vital funds for the charity, please call and speak to Susan, and she would love to chat from you.
And now on to the letters. Right, first of all, we have from Richard Bruce, Yarmouth, Weed Killer Woes. Thanks for publishing my letter regarding glyphosate and the Council and the response last week. I expected criticism, which is normal when chemical safety is questioned, but I was surprised by the writer's anonymity. Perhaps linked to the decision-making process, but it confirms that protecting health and environment are not priorities. If weeds are left so long that they begin to damage roads, it is evidence of failure to maintain roads and pavements. The chemical is systematic and enters every cell of the plant, so residues are released in the environment when the plant dies. Even the Romans could make roads and pavements free of weed infestation without using chemicals. Sadly, a friend of mine was poisoned by glyphosate when marking out sports fields for a Midlands council. He was made so chemically sensitive that when he broke his femur, he had to discharge himself from hospital in agony before his treatment was finished because he was so affected by anaesthetics from other patients. There are much safer ways to control weeds, and if glyphosate really killed down to the roots, as is claimed, then there would be no couchgrass, bindweed, etc. on farms and in gardens. Chemical resistance in weeds is growing. All is not as it is made to appear.
Think logically about traffic flow. This is a letter from Dr. Jane Bowskill of Binstead. The floating bridge is closed again, nicely timed to coincide with chaos at Coppins Bridge. This contributes to pollution due to extra miles covered, idling cars backing up the dual carriageway with petrol now at £1.75 a litre. Why could they not inspect the floating bridge last time it was out of service? The launch is inaccessible to people with a disability who cannot climb down moving wet, steep steps. Last week buses from Newport to Cowes were delayed by a contraflow outside the prison, with southbound queues stretching back to Northwood, and a further four-way contraflow at the roundhouse in Cowes. Is there no one capable of joined-up thinking? Don't permit relentless roadworks and floating bridge closures at the same time. With the massive rise in petrol prices, conserving fuel is essential. Wasting an hour from Cowes to Newport crawling in traffic is hardly good for air pollution and health. Buses and lorries are at their worst offenders. Sajid David bangs on about doing more to prevent illness. A start could be made by removing obstructions of traffic flow.
And from Anna Wood, Bembridge, she says, beavers won't do much for our green canopy. We are supposed to be planting trees, not felling them. I totally agree with Alice Jones' concerns, and that was in the County Press the 11th of March, about the proposed reintroduction of beavers. It is great that everybody is to have a say on the decision, but like Alice, once discovering the leaflet was totally one-sided, I also did my own research. I learnt that imported beavers have the potential to carry tapeworm, a parasite which can be fatal for dogs and humans. Even more worryingly, though, a single family of beavers can fell up to 300 trees a year. This will not sit well with the big push to plant hundreds of trees on the island as part of the Queen's Green Canopy.
And Jill Keith of Knighton suggests that this project could end very badly. How I agree with Alice Jones, who is worried about the possible reintroduction of beavers to the island. Two other points. Firstly, most wild animals which go through the process end up causing problems and are killed, culled, white-tailed eagles, lynxes, etc., which is so cruel and upsetting. And secondly, the Hants and Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust must have a lot of spare cash if it can afford to send every household here a questionnaire by post.
And Leslie Hampshire from Shanklin says, come on, County Press, be a bit more positive. How's this for a scenario? The news is so depressing and worrying right now, so you just need a break away from it all, and you've heard that the island is a great place to visit. Taking a look at the County Press, what do you see? The front page headline, Menace to Society, is rather off-putting, so you flick through the first few pages. Drugs trial collapses. Man jailed for knifing. Barrage of hate. Gas bottles left in. Fly tipping incident seem to jump out at you. You're well into the paper by now and you don't feel like reading any more, so you never see the really good stuff and you decide not to come to the island after all. Why can't the County Press give us something positive to kick off with? Of course, you have to report the bad stuff, that goes without saying, but try not making it the first news we see. Historic Yacht Club planning new look, or better still, see the island as you've never seen it before, would have given everybody a lift. The Weekender is full of events to enjoy, but that comes later, and it's the negative that hits you in the eye. Do your bit for our morale and for the tourist industry, County Press, and surprise us. Now there's an editor's footnote here, and he says, points noted, Leslie, although obviously not a generally positive story, our coverage of Islanders' help for Ukraine has been heartwarming.
John Palmer from Wellington, Hereford. My Knights of the Road. On March the 4th at 11:30 a.m, I was driving back to Yarmouth Ferry after visiting my friends in Bembridge. As I approached the junction of Downend Road with the A3056, a lorry in front of me shed a large stone. With no way of avoiding it, I burst a tyre. I pulled over just short of the junction and tried ringing the AA, only to be told that it would be at least 30 minutes before I could even speak to an operator. Total dismay until a highway maintenance lorry pulled up behind me. The two workmen got out, assessed the damage and changed the wheel for me. I am 83, and there was no way I could have done this myself. Having put the spare wheel on, they directed me to the nearest tyre centre where I was able to get a proper new tyre fitted. As a result, I didn't even miss my ferry. I was so stressed that I didn't even get their names. I was driving a blue VW Polo. I would like to pass on my thanks for their great kindness.
And Tim Marshall from Rookley says, wrong time to increase fares. It was with dismay that I read of the proposed variation, surely the word increase would be more accurate, of taxi charges. At a time where less domestic car use should be encouraged, at a time when the hospitality trade needs all the help it can get, in a county where large areas have little or no bus service, in a county where the taxis are already beyond the affordability of many, not to mention discouragement of drink driving, the increase in taxi fares is incomprehensible. The way taxis are organised on the Isle of Wight benefit the council through licensing revenue and the taxi companies themselves, most of which own one car and operate when and where they want. The one group of people not taken into consideration is the general public of the island. In many places on the mainland, it is not uncommon to call for a taxi either by phone or mobile app and expect to get one within a few minutes. The charges are affordable and the car stays in the garage. This, of course, leads to fewer private cars on the road, more taxi use, and as a result, more income for the local economy. Please reject this poorly considered proposal that would be of no benefit to 99% of islanders. I am frankly surprised that, considering the market economy, the council is allowed to control the cost of non-governmental services. I wonder if they could set a minimum charge for bass guitarists, as a semi-retired bass guitarist myself.
Jules Mason says, female sexism shows Tories' hypocrisy. I was stunned by the lack of outrage following the burst of sexism from Councillor Vanessa Churchman in a recent planning meeting. Her statement is prejudice, stereotyping and discriminating on the basis of sex. She should resign with immediate effect. I noted her comments in the paper and on your website last week, and her sexism. Despite standing on the steps of County Hall supporting Women's Day, appears not to have been challenged. You can understand why there is a war in Ukraine, because when you men get together, you are bloody impossible. If that statement had read, you can understand why there is a war in Ukraine, because when you women get together you are bloody impossible, there would have been an outcry. Ignore the fact that it's very low level to stoop to, likening mass murder of women and children to the behaviour of a council meeting. It's the fact that if the word men had read women, there would have been a tsunami of statements from women's groups, anti-sexist groups, and all manner of activists. It's intolerable, unless, of course, you are a member of the nasty party, in which case it's okay, bordering on part of acceptance into the club. The Council Code of Conduct is on the not-so-easy-to-navigate Council website, and her disgraceful venting breaches it on various levels. It no doubt falls foul of the Equality Act too. So why is this tolerated, but not the words of Jeff Brodie? Brodie isn't a Tory, that's why. It's also convenient for Joe Robertson to keep quiet, as at the moment Brodie is of benefit to him. Joe Robertson may have also conveniently forgotten that Vanessa Churchman is no stranger to such gibberish. She once appeared on LBC talking about Brexit, only to be ripped apart on her total misunderstanding of what she was talking about. Then, on a resident newsletter claiming that a defence against COVID is a warm cup of tea. Like the jets roaring overhead in the Ukraine, the hypocrisy from the Tories is deafening, and although it would be a crying shame to lose Churchman as she easily the clown of the chamber with her frequent gaffes and idiotic comments, the nasty party haven't learnt a thing, and that's why, just like Putin, they will be put out to pasture for good next time round. As a member of public, if you wanted to raise a complaint about the sexist comment, you have until tomorrow to do so via the council website. Good luck with that. It's appalling. On the other hand, every court needs its jester, and at some point she really will hang herself and her group. Maybe it's better to chalk it up as foolish behaviour and play the long game, waiting for a real humdinger. Still, sexist it is, and so the Tory hypocrisy continues.
And now we come on to Wight Memories and Nostalgia, and an article headed Island Fortifications Stretch Back Many Centuries. The island has been defended, formed sanctuary, and suffered attack over the last 1,000 years. We would hope to have learned from these events and live more peacefully in the future. Defence of the island has resulted in numerous iconic buildings. Carisbrooke Castle was constructed in stone by 1136, following a late Saxon defensive enclosure. The first wooden castle was mentioned in the Domesday Book in 1086. The gateway, as we know it today, was completed in the late 1380s. This was the only fortified place on the Isle of Wight at this time and was attacked by the French in 1377. Modern up-to-date defences include arrowhead bastions, were added in 1597 to 1602. Carisbrooke Castle became an administrative centre when Henry VIII set about creating fortifications at Yarmouth, West and East Cowes. Yarmouth Castle was constructed in 1547. The two castles at the mouth of the Medina were to prevent any further seaborne attack on Newport. The East Cowes Castle fell down within 7 years. The West Cowes Castle is still there, forming the ramparts of the Royal Yacht Squadron. In 1545, a blockhouse was built at Sconce Point, guarding the western approaches to the Solent. The remains of Fort Victoria that we see today were constructed between 1852 and 1855 as a result of further fears of a French invasion. Fort Albert, Golden Hill Fort, Culver Fort and Puckpool defences were begun at the same time. All of these and numerous other fortifications on the island show just how vulnerable the island was to invasion, being on the English Channel. Similarly, the island was a first stopping point for taking casualties from the Boer War, the First World War and the Second World War. Queen Victoria met wounded soldiers convalescing at Frank James' home in East Cowes, and after her death, the household wing of Osborne became the Edward VII Convalescent Home. Northwood House became a hospital in the First World War, with voluntary aid detachment nurses looking after the men. A military hospital was set up by the Royal Army Medical Service at Osborne Stable Block in the First World War. Safety from air attack in the First World War could not be guaranteed, despite the construction of several major gun emplacements. A total of 214 people were killed as a result of air raids on the island in the Second World War, 274 seriously injured, and 10,783 buildings seriously damaged. It was 60 years before some of the bombed areas were rebuilt. The major blitz on Cowes and East Cowes on the night of May 4th to 5th took place 80 years ago this year. Trying to explain the effects of war on our island to school children is taking on a new poignancy this spring.
Now this is from the section in the County Press entitled My View, in which a panel of columnists take it in turn to give their take on life as it is played out on the Isle of Wight. And this week, my view is from Matthew Chatfield, entitled If You've Got Too Many Fire Engines. There's a photograph of a fire engine and a painting. And they ask the question, which would you choose to spend your time and funds on, fire engines or works of art? Images on my screen this week showed Ukrainian museum staff and volunteers struggling to evacuate works of art as the war rolls closer. It's hard not to ask yourself why these brave people would do this when they could be out saving themselves or their loved ones. The answer lies in a story about Winston Churchill, which tells how Churchill was asked to cut arts funding in favour of the war effort. He simply replied, "Then what are we fighting for?" This tale, one of so many coming from this conflict, helped me appreciate the reality that war is not just for soldiers. I worked for many years in public service, mostly in council services that are non-essential, just as the Ukrainian art galleries are. Examples? And I've done all of these, might be looking after nature reserves, beaches or public parks. Sooner or later, councils have to decide what to spend their budget on and what not to. In my case, that led to an unexpected change of career when the Isle of Wight Council, nearly 10 years ago, decided to stop funding countryside work entirely. It was a small issue among cuts to many other services at the time, albeit one that I remember well. But this decision, and many others like it, illustrates the difficulty of making the choice between such diverse services as, say, a crematorium and a library.
In peacetime, this is just part of the humdrum routine of local politics. Public decision makers take these choices daily. If you had to choose between providing a single fire engine for your town or a new art gallery, what would you pick? Why, a fire engine, of course. Saving lives is obviously more essential than looking at art. What if you already had 50 fire engines and still no gallery? Maybe it would be time for some art. But the fire engines are just as essential. What changed? How many fire engines is too many? Exactly how many would you buy before you build that gallery? And what if it wasn't a gallery, but a hostel for the homeless? Those are harder questions. In reality, neither fire engines or galleries exist in isolation. We must take many other factors into account, so much so that usually choices councils make are obscured in minutes, agendas, consultations, and long administrative processes. But when that is stripped away, the question must remain: what actually, truly matters most to us? This is what I think when I see courageous Ukrainian curators and art lovers who, in their days of desperation, are making decisions without the need for committee. They are non-essential public servants and nice, quiet jobs, just like me. Suddenly for them, art and the culture heritage of their nation became literally a matter of life and death. They took action accordingly. I applaud and respect their judgment and selfishly wonder what I would have done. Let us hope that we are never forced to face the choice they did.
We move on to the What's On section. The Isle of Wight Garlic Festival is back. The Isle of Wight Garlic Festival returns in August after a 2-year break. The dates are set for Saturday, August the 20th and Sunday, August the 21st, and tickets are already on sale. Among this year's supported charities, this year's event will feature the Wave Project, the Way Forward, White Crystal, Isle of Wight Sporting Bears. If you want to perform, run a stall, or appear at the event, email hello@garlicfestival.co.uk. Applications are now open.
And music events on Sunday. The Dublin Legends Medina Theatre Newport at 7:30 p.m. and then at the Key Folk Club, Key Arts Newport 7:30 p.m. This is all on Sunday. And Jim Thorne Trio, Garlic Farm New Church at 2 p.m.
Folk and Blues Festival is back at Wolverton after COVID-19. COVID was enough to give us all the blues, but one reason to be cheerful is the return of the Wolverton Folk and Blues Fair after a 2-year coronavirus hiatus. The fair at the picturesque West Wight Manor House is now in its 10th year and will take place on Saturday, May the 14th. The event raises funds for leukemia research and Bryston Primary School. As well as the main stage, the popular beer tent acoustic stage will make a welcome return, providing a full and varied programme featuring some of the best folk and blues musicians the island has to offer.
And more music. On Monday, songs in the key of The Rolling Stones, Key Arts Newport 7:30 p.m. and then 2 Big Violins Medina Bookshop Cows at 7 p.m. and on Wednesday Platform 1 presents String Bar and Venue Newport 7:30 p.m. On Thursday, the Manfreds, Shanklin Theatre 7:30, and it's got a little bracket that says ticketed, whatever that means. And then there's Sean Goodfield, The Taverners, God's Hill, 6:30 p.m. And then Kathakali, also bracketed ticketed, Key Arts Newport, performances at 7:30 p.m.
And on What's On, they advertise the Alzheimer Cafe, Isle of Wight. Newcomers are very welcome. Booking only necessary when COVID-19 restrictions apply. An Alzheimer Cafe is a meeting place providing informal education about dementia, guidance and signposting to other services. We welcome people with dementia, their families, carers, professionals and anyone with an interest in dementia. The first one is East Cowes Alzheimer Cafe, East Cowes Town Hall, and that's open on the first Tuesday of the month from 2 p.m. until 4 p.m. Cowes Alzheimer Cafe is at the Football Club, Reynolds Close off Park Road, Cowes, on the second Wednesday of the month, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Ventnor Alzheimer Cafe, The Green Room, Salisbury Gardens, Dudley Road, Ventnor, third Wednesday of the month, 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. Newport Alzheimer Cafe, Newport Methodist Church, Key Street, Newport, last Wednesday of the month, 6 p.m. until 8 p.m. Ryde Alzheimer Cafe, All Saints Church Hall, Queen's Road, Ryde, first Friday of the month, 11 a.m. until 1 p.m. Totland Alzheimer Cafe, St Saviour's Holy Family Centre, Western Lane, Totland, third Wednesday of the month, 2 p.m. until 4 p.m. Sandown Alzheimer Cafe, the Broadway Centre, Broadway, Sandown, fourth Wednesday of the month at 2 p.m. and that's number 1 Broadway. Ace 7 Alzheimer Cafe for people with early onset dementia aged 45 to 65 years at the Riverside Centre at Newport, second and fourth Tuesdays of the month from 10:30 a.m. until 12 o'clock. And then finally, Freshwater store opening date. Tesco has revealed more details as it prepares to open its new freshwater superstore. The supermarket is taking over the former Co-op store, which closed in February. Among the highlights will be free EV charging points and a post office. The superstore will open next Thursday with 70 plus jobs for the community, including 60 people joining from the former Co-op. In addition to providing fresh food, ready meals and other supplies, the new store will stock items from local suppliers, including the Isle of Wight tomato stall. The store will be part of Tesco's Community Food Connection, which donates surplus food to local groups and food banks. The store will be open 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m, Monday to Saturday, and 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sundays.
And then back to leisure, arts, music, comedy, all at the Medina Theatre. And for any of these events, you must book your tickets. So from Fairley Road, Newport, PO30 to EW, and online it's www.medinatheatre.co.uk or telephone 823 884. So, at the Medina Theatre on Saturday, the 2nd of April at 8 p.m, and tickets are £16, from Andy Parsons, Healing the Nation. I was in the middle of a UK tour when theatres had to close due to lockdown, and the tour was called Healing the Nation, so that title worked out well. It will turn out to be the longest tour ever, taking 3 years to complete. And as the tour has gone on, there's been less and less healing and more of the opposite. Admittedly, I could have changed the title, but it still seems strangely appropriate, and some of the gigs have been rescheduled, so it would prove confusing to existing ticket holders if the ticket said Healing the Nation, but the show was now called My Life in Ballet. So we have the serially rewritten Healing the Nation tour 2019 to 2020, now extended into 2021-22 due to popular demand, but also mainly lack of open theatres, and with negative powers of healing. Yet this latest version of the show is my favourite so far. And then we've got on Sunday the 20th of March, that's this weekend, at 7:30 p.m, tickets £23, the Dublin Legends. Following the sudden death of founding member Barney McKenna in 2012 and John Sheehan's decision to retire, it was agreed that the Dubliners, as a touring band, would come to an end, and the Dublin Legends were born. The Dublin Legends, Sean Cannon, Paul Watchorn, Jerry O'Connor and Shay Kavanagh, have over 100 years of performing experience between them, and Sean was the lead singer with the Dubliners for over 30 of them. They will, of course, continue to play all the classic songs and ballads known the world over. Whiskey in the Jar, Dirty Old Town, The Wild Rover, Seven Drunken Nights, The Rare Old Times, Molly Malone, The Irish Rover, Black Velvet Band, and many more. And then just one more at the under leisure at the Medina Theatre, Friday the 8th of April at 7:30, tickets £19, and this is Magical Bones Black Magic. The Britain's Got Talent finalist is hitting the road as his much-anticipated debut UK tour continues. Join one of the most explosive names in street magic today as he effortlessly combines intricate sleight of hand with jaw-dropping break dance moves in one of the most awe-inspiring shows you'll see this year. In addition to wowing the nation on BGT, Bones has also been entertaining international audiences with appearances on US television's Penn and Teller, Fool Us, as well as having a critically acclaimed and totally sold-out run at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. His other credits include international stage hit Impossible, BBC One's BAFTA Awards, ITV One's This Morning, and Skies Around the World in 80 Tricks.
Aldi and Cows reopens to public after the store is refitted. Aldi's Cows store reopened to customers last Thursday. The store employs 33 members of staff, and manager Stephen Highsmith said, "The store is looking fantastic. We're committed to making sure that the shopping experience each customer enjoys in our stores is on a par with the products and the services they're used to." The 1,125 square metres of retail space on Airfield Way off Three Gates Road at Northwood has been given a new look as part of the retailer's £600 million investment across the UK. It is closed for the work at the end of last month. Following the reopening of the Cows store, Lakes Aldi closed for refurbishment.
And now a few additional news items. We have one here entitled Police Crackdown. Police on the island have vowed to clamp down on antisocial behaviour which has blighted Newport Town Centre. Last week alone, police received a number of reports of antisocial behaviour. They included attempted break-ins to shops in the town centre, verbally abusing staff in at least 4 retail premises, shoplifting from several stores, blocking exits at Cineworld Cinema so people cannot get past, and even bizarre instances of running through shops and throwing items off shelves, screaming at staff. There have also been reports of young people setting fire to items in disused stairwells and climbing onto shop roofs, causing damage and risking not only their own lives but those of pedestrians below should they fall. To emphasise the problem, police have captured and shared images from CCTV footage in Newport showing gangs or groups of youths in the town centre but not identifying individuals. An Island police spokeswoman said, "What you see is a very small selection of this week's CCTV featuring groups of children who spend most of their time in Newport Town Centre. I'm mentioning the point they are children because it's difficult to believe when I hear the language some of them direct at retail staff and some particularly unpleasant gesturing and activity. We have received constant reports of antisocial behaviour in the town. There is more often than not a ringleader or one that encourages the others. These groups contribute to the antisocial behaviour in the town. We will be clamping down on the coming weeks with extra patrols and the use of dispersal powers. In the current climate, people are finding things extremely difficult as it is. Those who work in and visit the town shouldn't be subjected to or intimidated by these children, nor to a barrage of abuse for asking them to move or behave. Equally, we need to safeguard them against their risky pastimes, which include setting things on fire and scaling 3-storey buildings to stand on damaged, unstable and uneven rooftops, as well as the offences they potentially commit."
Fight outside Poundland after man hit dog. A fight broke out in the middle of Shanklin last Friday morning, with witnesses saying it started when a man hit out at a dog. Then a passer-by intervened. Police were called to Regent Street outside Poundland, but the 2 men had gone by the time the officer arrived. Comments on social media suggest the fight broke out after one of the men saw a dog being hit, so he hit out at the man who had hit the dog. A Hampshire constabulary spokesperson said, "We were called at 10:52 a.m. with reports of 2 men fighting outside Poundland. Police attended, but the 2 men had already parted ways and left the area."
And now a Shorewell pub steeped in history is up for sale. An island pub steeped in history is up for sale, as its owners prefer to wave goodbye to a building so very close to their hearts. Leisure property specialists Fleuret have been instructed to market the leasehold of the Crown Inn in Shorewell. The late 18th century property, which occupies a prime position in the village, has 2 on-site car parks and offers 80 internal and 100 external covers. Current landlord Mike Benwell said, "The Crown Inn has always had a place in our hearts. When we were growing up, we always visited the inn with our parents, grandparents and great-grandparents, and we have such great memories. We decided to purchase the pub, and in our first couple of years of ownership, the pub was good to us. Unfortunately, with COVID, we have had to concentrate on our core pub portfolio, so it's now time for someone else to take the pub on." Nick Erie, divisional director at Fleuret, said, "The Crown Inn is a significant part of the local community and presents a fantastic opportunity to build on an already established business."
And new loos set to grace Shanklin seafront. New toilets are proposed for a popular stretch of Island Beach, but the old ones will stay for now. New pay-as-you-use toilets are planned to for near the bottom of Shanklin Chine to replace the currently dilapidated toilets. The existing conveniences are described in planning documents to be in very poor condition and beyond economic repair. The new facilities, coloured to represent the seaside sand yellow, marine blue sea and blue sky, would be sitting opposite the others, which would then be permanently closed. The Danfo designed block would have 2 toilets, one accessible and one unisex, with 2 exterior cold water showers.
And now we have popular God's Hill restaurant to close ahead of new venture. Wood's Kitchen in God's Hill will close in May as the owner bids farewell and moves on to pastures new. The popular restaurant will stop taking regular bookings at the end of April ahead of closing night on Friday, May the 6th. Wood's Kitchen was first opened on August the 23rd, 2018, taking over the former site of the Essex pub in the heart of God's Hill. Terry Woods, owner of the Woods Kitchen, will be opening a new restaurant bar at the new Goddard's Brewery site in Arreton. Posting on Woods Kitchen Facebook, she said, "We are still at the build and fitting stage, so we are looking to be open sometime in June. I will post full information on our Facebook page once we have definite dates." And from 7 p.m. on Woods Kitchen's closing day, Terry is hosting a farewell night featuring entertainment from an ABBA tribute act and a 4-course dinner inspired by tastes of the Mediterranean.
Car window is broken to rescue a dog. Police were forced to smash the window of a car parked in Yarmouth amid concerns for the welfare of a dog overheating in the sunny spring conditions. A shop owner in the town alerted officers to the welfare concern in Key Street on Saturday afternoon. The police were told of concerns about the temperature inside the vehicle and the length of time the dog had been in it. Officers smashed the car window at around 2:45 p.m. The car and dog owner turned up a few minutes later. Police took no action against the dog owner, but the RSPCA were notified. As the weather warms up, the RSPCA is urging dog owners to never leave their dog alone in the car on a warm day.
And now, the new Bishop of Portsmouth visits Cowes. The new Bishop of Portsmouth, Bishop Jonathan Frost, visited Cowes on Sunday, the day after his installation service at Portsmouth Cathedral. Bishop Jonathan was formally welcomed into the diocese as the 10th Bishop of Portsmouth on Saturday. His new role will involve him leading the Church of England's Diocese of Portsmouth, which covers 133 parishes across southwest Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. Bishop Jonathan visited St Mary's Church in Cowes for a welcome service with islanders. Evensong was celebrated with island worshippers and community leaders. Bishop Jonathan's priorities are prayer and spirituality, evangelism, discipleship, and working alongside others to tackle poverty. He has already stressed the importance of tackling mental health issues among young people and how vital it is to work towards climate justice. Jonathan's married to Christine, an integrative child psychotherapist, and they have 3 adult children.
Church renovation a step closer. The project to renovate St Thomas's Church in Ryde has moved a step closer. Architects are holding a series of workshops with Network Ryde young people to ensure the new home is everything everyone hopes it will be. Network Ryde is Ryde Town Council's youth service, offering support, advice and guidance to all young people. Bex Swan, Network Ryde manager, said, There is a whole world of possibilities for Network Ride at St Thomas's Church. With an experienced architect team in place, we are very happy with the way things are going, and everyone is looking forward to seeing results as quickly as possible. St Thomas's Church was bought by Wight Town Council last year to help grow Network Ride's youth services.
And now on to a sailing item. D joins UKSA, I imagine that means the UK Sailing Association, youth team. British yachtswoman Dee Kafari has been named by UKSA as its youth and mental health ambassador in a newly created role. UKSA, based in Cowes, made a public appeal for support to improve mental health in youngsters in December. As the first woman to have sailed single-handed and non-stop around the world in both directions, and the only woman to have sailed non-stop around the world 3 times, Dee has faced an abundance of mental health challenges throughout her career. She wants to use her resilience to help inspire UKSA's youngsters. She said, "The last 2 years have been challenging for everyone. Uncertainty, financial concerns, and less group activity have all taken a toll on mental health. Resilience is built up over time as a result of life experiences. Although with the pandemic we were all in the same storm, we weren't all in the same boat facing that storm, and it has been particularly difficult for the younger generation. I hope by supporting UKSA, I will be able to facilitate confidence in young people to ensure our future generations can thrive."
COVID rules on hospital visits eased. COVID-19 restrictions on visits to the Isle of Wight NHS Trust sites have been eased. Patients at St Mary's Hospital can now have increased contact with family and loved ones, though a number of rules are still in place. The news comes in the week the Isle of Wight's rolling average number of COVID-19 cases stood at 802.6 per 100,000 people in the 7 days to March the 11th, the most up-to-date figures. It has pushed the island into the dark purple category on the government's interactive heat map. The UK average was 649.4 over the same time period. It comes after a warning by Isle of Wight health bosses for islanders to remain vigilant and cautious. At St Mary's, from Monday, patients are allowed a daily visitor for up to an hour on all wards except the intensive care unit. Visitors need to pre-book with the ward and visit between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. and are required to wear a face mask. They must take a lateral flow test no earlier than 24 hours before a visit. The Isle of Wight National Health Service Trust says there are exceptions in compassionate circumstances. Juliet Pearce, Director of Nursing, Midwifery and Allied Health Professionals, said, "We are delighted to be able to invite more people back into our hospital to spend time with their loved ones, whilst ensuring that everyone stays safe. We know how difficult it has been for families, friends and loved ones not to be able to visit while restrictions have been in place to prevent the transmission of COVID-19, and we are grateful to everyone for their support and patience. Alcohol sanitation for hands is still on the wards, and visitors must maintain at least 1 metre from other patients and staff." Miss Pearce said, "We have all worked hard to achieve lower rates of infection, but COVID-19 continues to circulate in our community. Hands, face and space are still 3 important steps to follow, and we urge everyone to follow the provided advice and guidance to prevent our staff and patients from contracting this highly infectious disease. If you test positive for COVID-19, have any symptoms, have been in contact in the last 10 days with a symptomatic or COVID-19 positive household, or if you are self-isolating, you should not visit.
And now let's look at what's planned for Newport site. Unique tourism accommodation is planned for the edge of Newport. Four Lakes Country Park on Staples Road wants to become a highly sought-after destination site for holidaymakers, according to plans submitted to the Isle of Wight Council. The site, near the former Isle of Wight Lavender Farm and round the corner from the Monkey Haven, will be based around the four recreational fishing lakes. Owner Andrew Newman of Wight Developments is proposing 6 lakeside and fishing lodges of various sizes and capacities, with 2 further safari tents and a tea room. 5 of the lodges would be placed on a levelled shelf midway between the surface of the lake and the higher surrounding countryside. The tea room would be open to the wider public, and in planning documents is said to be important in helping the business work all year round. In a sensitive regeneration of the site, planning agent Andrew Wight says the holiday units would be marketed on the basis of complete escapism, tranquility and integration with the natural environment. According to Mr. Wight, Mr. Newman is passionate about providing a quality establishment capitalising on the setting of the site and panoramic views towards the surrounding countryside. And you can view the plans, which are numbered 22/00209/FUL. You can visit the Council's planning register, and comments will be accepted until April the 1st. Islands Roads assessed the application and recommended it for refusal due to inadequate access visibility, an inadequate turning area, insufficient parking provision and pedestrian connectivity. The island's authority argues the development is likely to encourage private car use and deter sustainable transport. It said it would increase the potential for conflict between pedestrians and motorists along Staples Road due to the lack of separate pedestrian links.
And on that note, it's time for us to say goodbye. So it's bye-bye from Mike.
And Megan.
Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. And a little bit extra, quite interesting, about the visually impaired in Ukraine. According to the United Nations, more than 2.8 million people have so far fled Ukraine because of the Russian invasion, and amongst them are visually impaired people. Many have fled to Poland, where some could be offered the help they need by Olga Marla and Andrei Butenko. Olga travelled nearly 10,000 miles across the world from Australia to help visually impaired people with food and accommodation once they have crossed the border into Poland. Olga attended a boarding school for the blind in the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. Andrei Butenko is also from Kharkiv and is in Poland, helping refugees cross the border into safety. We asked them about the work they are doing and how the visually impaired people they are meeting are coping with the ongoing war. We also heard from Dr. Vera Remazchevska in Lviv, who founded the first training and rehabilitation centre in Ukraine for children with visual impairments. There she is currently helping visually impaired children, their families and other refugees that have travelled to the west of Ukraine to find safety.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Good evening.
When I was quite a young child, I can remember hearing people's stories about war and thinking, how on earth would I cope in a situation like that as a blind person? Intense noise, not knowing where the danger's coming from, but knowing it could come from anywhere at any time. Well, I've been lucky. It's a situation I've never had to face. But for the people of Ukraine, it's happening now, either already or as an approaching terror. It's bad for everyone, but for blind people, however competent they are under normal circumstances, there surely has to be a deep sense of vulnerability, which is why many people, some of them blind or partially sighted themselves, have become involved in trying to help and, in some cases, to get visually impaired people out of Ukraine into neighbouring countries. Someone who's been doing exactly this is Dr. Vera Remeshevska. She joins me from Lviv with the aid of her interpreter. Dr. Remeshevska is an educationalist who founded the first rehab centre for the education of blind and partially sighted children in Ukraine. And she also has a daughter who's been blind from birth. Dr. Remeshevska, can you just explain at the moment what are conditions like at this moment in Lviv? Because I know you've had trouble really just in the last day or so.
Ми у Львові вважали всі ці 2 тижні війни, що ми в безпеці.
For 2 weeks, actually, till this time, we thought we were not in real danger because here we are very close to the European border. It's only 70 kilometers to the European Union. And also here we have a lot of refugees who come here from the eastern part of Ukraine. Some people go abroad, so they go further to the world. But some people stay here, still hoping that everything will be fine and we will not be in danger here in the western part of Ukraine. But unfortunately, last night we had bombing and the western part was also in danger. In the morning, we learned the information what was happening during the night. So it was the bombing of International Center of Peacekeepers, just 40 kilometers from us. 35 people died and more than 150 were wounded, injured during that bombing.
Can I ask Vera how many children have come to Lviv from the various schools?
All the schools which we have in Ukraine for blind or visually impaired children. There are only 7 schools for blind children and around 30 for children with low vision. The situation was nearly the same all over Ukraine. Since the war began, all of the parents took their children back home. And in Kharkiv, only 20 children stayed at the school for children with low vision or blind children. So I have managed to talk to the headmaster of school in Odessa and in Kyiv. Actually, all the children are safe. And the children who managed to come here in the West also are safe. But a lot of children, blind children, managed to cross the border and they went to the West, to the European Union. I also know a lot of workers who work with blind children in many European countries like Poland, Romania, Croatia, and a lot of children who came to Poland. They are already sheltering and having some place where to stay. Blind children are in Poland, but also in other countries as well.
Can I ask how the blind children are coping with the upheaval?
So today I had a conversation with a little girl and I asked her, are you afraid? Because today we had airstrike and the siren was for 5 hours. So we had to stay in a shelter in a basement for 5 hours. And the girl said, no, it's not, I'm not afraid at all because the bombs are not falling on your head. So we have a great spring sunny day today. So the children are playing games. They are sliding and going in the garden. So it feels like we have no war because the children are happy there. And their moms are crying, remembering how their houses and how their cities were bombed and now only ruins are left. It was a long way for them to come to Lviv and they managed to do it. But the children are happy to see the sun. And so we have a big hope that everything will be fine in Ukraine.
Is there a long-term plan, Dr. Remeshevska?
Yes, we have long terms. And now we are baking bread because it's very necessary for all the people who are staying here. We are also making nettings for our soldiers and our army to be able to hide their positions and feel safety. And also we are gathering and trying to help with medicine. The school in Kharkiv for blind children, which was the oldest in Ukraine, is completely ruined, destroyed. I was talking to the headmaster of a school in Kyiv and school in Odessa. So they are holding their positions. They believe in the army, in the Ukrainian army. So they will not step back, and we will survive, and we will need to restore everything what was ruined.
Відбудовувати все те, що знищено.
Dr. Remezhevska, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. Well, Andrei Potemko is originally from Kharkiv. He's currently in Poland helping people find the help that they need after crossing the border. Andrei, first of all, tell us a bit more about the work that you're doing.
I'm personally blind. I used to work in a school for the blind, and now I work in a rehabilitation center for the disabled people and members of their family. Now I'm in Poland, and what I do, I help people from Kharkiv, disabled people, to get out of Ukraine to different countries. At first to Lviv, and then from Lviv to Poland. It is very difficult because not so many people who can fix this problem. Because you need to find transport, you need to find money, you need to find people who will drive or who can help these people to get to train and out of train. And then they need to cross the border, and crossing border, it's some kind of quest now. Approximately 400 disabled people we have managed to bring from Kharkiv to Poland already. Last group of people, blind people, people on wheelchairs, we collect them all around our city. So we found transport to take them to railway station. It is difficult because all the day bombs are coming to our city. And if you go somewhere, you don't know if bomb will be there or not. If you just go to train and try to go, it will be not possible for you because everyone wants to go to this train. So we call to government and we ask them to give us special train so blind people could stay there. We have managed to solve this problem, and then they were taken to Lviv. We found where to stay them in Lviv because a lot of refugees are in Lviv, so you will not be able to find place to stay at night. Maybe you will need to stay in the street. So we found place for them, and then we found buses and helped them to cross the border.
Can I ask you what made you want to help?
Because I am from Ukraine. It's my native country. War is now. I cannot take a gun and go, but I can help different ways. And it's my friends, people who I know, children, it doesn't matter who are. They are Ukrainians, and I had to help them. If I do not do this, no one can.
You're blind yourself, as you've said,
yes.
And you've had to adjust to an unfamiliar situation very quickly. How are you doing? Because you're taking on...
Okay, I tell you one story. When I was in Kharkiv, I was in my home on the first floor, and they throw 2 bombs like 300 meters from our building. And I thought that it was to our building. The sound was very hard. It was scary, but all my life is under the stress. So I was not afraid. I just thought how to be safe. So I just hide under the table and wait. But psychologically, it's very difficult because now I'm here. I'm in a safe place. And if I hear some loud voice, I think it's maybe shooting or bombing. And what I see around, regular persons are very scared. A lot of them just sit under the ground and wait what happened just all day. I can go outside, even if I cannot see. I go outside and go to store, take food from there with somebody who can help me and bring it to different people who need this. Because I'm sure it will be okay with me. I just believe that.
Andrei Potemko, thank you very much indeed. Few people will have travelled as far as Olga Mala, almost 10,000 miles in fact. Olga was raised in the Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. She subsequently went to Australia, but now she's in Warsaw to help visually impaired people who've crossed the border. Olga, it's a long journey. What made you do it?
I would do anything to be here and to help. When the war started and my family was following the news, we were saying there must be something we can do. And then as we started seeing that there were hundreds and then thousands and more of refugees crossing the border, and we saw those poor women with children lining up in the freezing cold for days and how they needed help. And we thought, okay, this is what we are going to do. We are going to help refugees. And of course, being blind myself, my heart is especially aching for blind people.
We heard Vera talking about the blind schools in Ukraine. You went to one of them, didn't you?
Yes, I went to the school in Kharkiv, to the boarding school for the blind. And my family is still in Ukraine and Kharkiv. Both of my parents are completely blind and they're afraid to leave. The journey to Poland or even just to Lviv is very difficult. It takes 3 or 4 times longer than normally it would take in extremely harsh conditions. And not all blind people can join those organized groups as Andrei has described. And they're frightened, they're saying, at least here, I know where my kitchen is. I know where my toilet is. I go as a blind person to another country. And what do? I don't speak the language. I will have to potentially share a space with 100 other people. And how will I find anything? How will I survive? And lots of families are with children. So what I did when we booked our tickets, I just posted on Facebook a call saying, hey guys, we are arriving and we are going to help blind people, especially families with children. We will just rent accommodation and we will take you in and look after you. That was a sort of like plan, but the true plan evolved actually here because we were realizing the fact that we can only stay here for so long. Our finances are limited because we're using our funds. We are not backed up by any organization or anything. We just sold some gold that we had for, a difficult day. We figured, okay, that's the time and that's all we have. So we were worried, how can we actually help long term? Because the situation in Ukraine is long lasting. Plus, even if the war stops, the cities are ruined. People have nowhere to go back. But we were very blessed. The very first day we were here, there was a lady, as it turned out to be Swedish, who had trouble communicating with someone Russian speaking. And I have a master's degree in interpreting. We started talking and my husband and I discovered that she was a representative of a Demand for Action organization. They bring buses of humanitarian aid from Sweden to Ukraine and then take buses of refugees back to Sweden. And they really, really welcomed every blind person, every blind family that we were able to connect with them. And they prioritize them. They get them on the bus as soon as possible. They've been really awesome.
So you are the link in a way. You made the link between that organisation
Yes.
and you can steer other blind people towards them.
Yes, but I'm not only providing information, which I do a lot. My phone doesn't stop the whole day. But apart from providing information, we actually renting several accommodations, feeding people, helping them with, like, if they need to buy some clothes, if they need to take their pets to vets. So staying actually in the room today, I'm sick, but my husband at the moment is looking after family. Mom is sighted, but she's got two blind kids, actually from the Kharkiv school. So he has put them in the apartment. He helped them to register with the Swedish organization, and they have a cat. So he's taken them to the vets to help the cat to get European documents. And quite frequently he has to call me and say, hey, can you please translate for me? Because, the family doesn't speak English. And my husband doesn't speak Russian. The vet speaks Polish. We have lots of fun, but we manage. And unfortunately, I can't say like Andrei that we can help hundreds of people. It's beyond our capacity. But, we're doing what we can. And already in 1 week, we looked after 6 families and provided all of them with long-term solution that is going to be really good for them.
Can I ask you how the visually impaired people you're coming across, how are they coping with all this upheaval?
Well, it's not easy, and not seeing where to go, not understanding the language just is very difficult. So my husband sometimes has to guide 3 blind people at the same time. And he's like, I have only skills to guide one, which is me.
That's you, yeah.
Yeah, so he's learning. People kind of say, we are scared to go on. People worry what waits for them in another country, because it's extremely difficult to be blind without language, to learn new things, start new life. And at the same time, they knew there was nothing promising for them back. Their houses are bombed, the infrastructure is destroyed. And it's extremely dangerous for a blind person to be in a situation like that as well.
Can I just ask you a bit more about your parents, your mum and dad?
Sure.
What do you think they're going to do? You must be very worried about them.
Well, today I was able to find a phone number for them. I hope once they contact that number, they will be able to get some food delivered to them, because it takes them 3 days to finally find a loaf of bread. The food is scarce. They live in the outskirts, and being blind, they don't have means of safely traveling further than the direct area around them. And it's not safe in terms of war and everything. So I hope volunteers will look after them. At the moment, they are refusing to go. And I'd say that's how it will go in future, because they're saying we will just die here rather than suffer somewhere else.
That's very sad, but you can understand it, I guess, because the future...
I do.
Yeah.
Look, if I was them, they're in their 70s, if I was completely blind, didn't have language skills, I probably would be too scared to go myself. I perfectly understand them. And I actually take my hat off in front of people, blind people, who make the move. I actually admire it a lot, and that's why I'm here to help to make their life easier.
Olga Mahler, thank you very much indeed for talking to In Touch so movingly. And also our thanks to Andrei Butenko and Dr. Vera Remazhevska for all the work that they're doing. That's all for today. Next week, we're planning to talk to the European Blind Union about what they're doing and planning to do for visually impaired Ukrainians who are already in many other European countries. But for now, from me, Peter Wight, producer Beth Hemmings and studio managers Mark Ward and Sharon Hughes, goodbye.
Good morning, everyone. This is Mike, and we're starting off with the scaffolding and skips news for the 21st of March 2022. The ride area: Warren Boats, Blewett Avenue, Seaview; Area 52, 38 High Street; S. Fowler & Co, Union Street; Henleys, High Street, Seaview. The skips are at Buccaneers, Ferry Road, Seaview; 6 Roseland Court, Quarry Road; 26 Quarry Road; and 67 Monkton Street.
And in the Newport area, Guildhall, High Street; the Old Mill, St Cross Lane, and Newport Minster, St Thomas's Square. And then in the Cowes area, Jersey Cottage, Market Hill, Sun Hill, Old NatWest Bank, 104 High Street, Gallery 21 to 22, Shooters Hill, High Street, 70 Island Sailing Club, High Street.
East Cowes area is the Co-op in York Road and Skips at 56 South Bank Road.
And in the Shanklin area, 6A Landguard Road, Boots, 1 Regents Street, and Pendleton's Restaurant, 85 High Street.
Yarmouth area is Omdurman, South Street, and the Ventnor area, Skips in Methodist Church, High Street.